I am not a teacher of the class Het, which Harry is a part of, but I just taught it a few times as a replacement teacher during this year. And I can say that this is probably the class with the most number of opinions. And every single person in that class would like to express it and do it quite quickly and as loud as possible, which is good, which is what we want in Judaism, to express our opinions. And it always reminds me of this moment in Findlay on the roof, where Tevye listens to one person and says, two people arguing, Tevye listens to one person and says, oh, you're right. And then the second person says, how can he be right? And expresses his view, and Tevye says, oh, and you're right. And then the third person listens to the conversation and says, well, they can't both be right. You know what? You're right. So, and this is something that that serves, I think, as a good prelude, in a way, to what I'm going to say. So what is the purpose of religion and a synagogue? Why do we exist? And what's the relationship between religion and the state? I know that many people ask such questions today, and some people even think that religion exists to control people. And famous German sociologist and economic theorist Karl Marx famously said that religion is the opium of the people. And in the context, the statement is part of Marx's argument that religion was constructed by people to overcome uncertainty over their role in the universe and society. In other words, Marx said that religion made people inactive and disempowered people from taking an active part in the society or community. And I can see why people would think this way. In a Sunday sermon, an Orthodox bishop, Kirill, the head of Russian Orthodox Church, supported the war against Ukraine. And if this had been the main line of my religious leaders, I would have felt a deep disconnection from my religion. And I would probably say the same as Marx would say. It leads us to an important question. What is the limit of my liberalism then? So, and usually I, as a liberal rabbi, take the position that we should respect every opinion, even if we disagree with it. And that's the connection to the class Het, I think. But we should respect every opinion, right? Can we agree to disagree with those religious leaders that support the bloodshed? This week's Torah portion begins with an unusual word, which has a small aleph in it. And this is how it looks in every single Torah scroll. This word is Vayikra, but the letter aleph in it is written in a very tiny script, as if it's been added later, as if the scribe forgot to write it in the first place, and then realized that, oh my goodness, I forgot it, and then put a little one, so that to make it there. And as I said, all Torah scrolls has this aleph now. But now we ask a different question. So maybe it was not a mistake. Perhaps there was a reason why it was done in the first place. And this small aleph became the subject of discussions of many, many rabbis. And why is it left small? There should be a reason, some intellectual reason, some ethical reason, rather than a scribal mistake. So on Jacob ben Asher, also known as Baal Aturim, a commentator of the Torah, also noticed it, and he wrote that the Aleph of Vayikra is small, since Moses initially wanted to write Vayikar, and it happened without the Aleph. But God told him to write an aleph so that the word would be Vayikra, which means he called upon. So he added a small one. So it was not a scribal mistake, but that was a mistake that Moses did. He wanted that God. The difference between something happening to you, Vayikar, accidentally, and something being called upon is quite significant. When something happens to you, you become a passive spectator. It is your choice and an obligation to act when you are called upon. And the difference between the two is sometimes very subtle, almost invisible, like a small aleph. There is another detail in the Torah. And my teachers told me that whenever you see the decorations on the Torah scroll, and you will see it tomorrow when we will undress the scroll, we will see that the Torah scroll is not just a parchment, but also it has the mantle, and it has two little crowns on the handles of it. So, and my teachers told me that whenever you see these decorations on the Torah scroll, you should know that they are not made out of hard metal or steel, but only out of soft materials, such as silver, gold, or aluminium. Why? I asked, I remember. And they answered that because you should not make Torah out of the same material that you can make a sword or weapon. As a person involved in religion, I can say that any religion can turn people against each other. Religion can become a weapon of war. But at the same time, it can become a beautiful tool and inspiration for compassion. Sometimes the difference between the two is almost invisible, like the little aleph in Vayikra. An anonymous voice of Talmud quotes the opening verse of Vayikra and says that before speaking, God called upon Moses. God called out to Moses to teach us an element of so-called derech eretz, the way of connection with ordinary people. That we need to engage with people, to call out first, understand their needs, their motivation, before speaking at them. In doing so, we recognize the humanity of those with whom we speak. Coming back to the initial question, what is the role of religion and what is the relationship between religion and state? Perhaps one of the answers is to see people behind numbers, human lives behind statistics, and the universe behind each and every human life. Shabbat Shalom.